Echoes of the extinct. The artifact hung suspended in the containment field, its smooth metallic surface gleaming under the laboratory lights. Despite being over 50,000 years old, it showed no signs of corrosion or decay. The object was roughly rectangular, approximately the size of a Vexen's hand, with intricate patterns etched into its surface that seemed to shift and change depending on the angle of observation. "Extraordinary," whispered Dr. Lixel, her four compound eyes blinking in rapid succession. The Enteri scientist's exoskeleton clicked softly as she leaned closer to examine the artifact. "The molecular structure is unlike anything in our databases." Behind her, Commander Vrock grunted, his massive reptilian form making the laboratory feel suddenly cramped. "Is it a weapon?" The Draxid military officer's scales shifted from green to a wary orange as he spoke. "Not everything is a weapon, Commander," said Talon, the team's Luminar historian. The ethereal being floated closer, tendrils of light extending toward the artifact without touching the containment field. "This is clearly a data storage device of some kind. The question is, can we access what's inside?" The fourth member of their team, a silicon-based geovite named Krell, had remained silent until now. His crystalline body refracted the laboratory lights as he finally spoke, voice rumbling like stones grinding together. "The question you should be asking is whether we should." The artifact had been discovered 3 lunar cycles ago on a desolate planet in the Outer Rim. What had begun as a routine survey had become the archaeological find of the millennium when Krell's sensors detected unusual energy patterns emanating from deep beneath the planet's surface. After weeks of careful excavation, they had uncovered a sealed chamber containing this single object, the first confirmed relic of the mythical human species. Humans, the name itself had passed into legend, a civilization so ancient that most modern species considered them nothing more than a myth. Stories told of a bipedal race that had once dominated the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing at the height of their power. Some said they had destroyed themselves in a cataclysmic war. Others believed they had transcended physical form and ascended to another plane of existence. But for 50,000 years, no concrete evidence of their civilization had ever been found. Until now. Dr. Lixel's mandibles quivered with excitement. The preliminary scan suggests there's a power source still active inside. After all this time, it defies all technological principles we know. Humans were said to be innovators. Talon's voice was soft, almost reverent. The old texts speak of technologies that seemed like magic to the primitive species of that era. Commander Vrock snorted. "Myths and legends. Next, you'll be telling me they could travel faster than light without phase gates." Actually, Krell's crystalline form vibrated slightly. The oldest records suggest they might have done exactly that. The laboratory fell silent as they all stared at the artifact. The question hung unspoken between them. What secrets did this small rectangle hold? And more importantly, what consequences would come from unlocking them? "We should inform the Galactic Council before proceeding," Vrock finally said, scales shifting to a cautious blue. Talon's light dimmed slightly. "And have bureaucrats delay our research for decades while they debate ownership rights. This discovery belongs to science, not politics." "I agree with Talon." Dr. Lixel clicked decisively. "We have the expertise and equipment here. The protocols for first contact artifacts are clear. Assess for immediate threats, then catalog and document. This isn't a first contact situation," Krell rumbled. "Humans have been gone for 50 millennia. Have they?" Talon's question hung in the air, unanswered. After hours of careful analysis, Dr. Lixel determined that the artifact contained no biological or radiological hazards. Whatever energy source powered it was self-contained and stable. The team decided unanimously, though Vrock did so reluctantly, to attempt to activate the device. "I've identified what appears to be an interface point," Dr. Lixel announced, manipulating the containment field to rotate the artifact. "This recessed area here. The pattern suggests it responds to direct contact. Physical touch. Vrock's scales flared. That's primitive. Or intimate. Talon countered. Not all species rely on distance and technology for connection. After establishing additional safety protocols, they lowered the containment field. Dr. Lixel, with her delicate manipulator appendages, was the logical choice to make contact. The laboratory's defensive systems were armed, and Vrock stood ready with a phase disruptor, despite the others' objections. Dr. Lixel extended her appendage and touched the recessed area on the artifact. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft blue light emanated from the device, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The surface patterns began to flow and shift more rapidly, and a beam of light projected upward, forming into a three-dimensional image above the artifact. The team gasped collectively as the image resolved into a figure they all recognized instantly, despite none of their species ever having seen one in real life. A human. The holographic figure was Bictal, with 2 arms, a round head with forward-facing eyes, and covered in some kind of close-fitting garment. Its skin was a pale color, and filaments grew from its head. When it spoke, its voice was surprisingly melodic, speaking in a language none of them understood. Activating universal translation protocols, Talon said quickly, interfacing with the laboratory systems. After a moment of processing, the human's words became clear. Final message from Earth Central Archive. If you are receiving this, then our calculations were correct, and intelligent life has continued to evolve in our absence. I am Dr. Ileana Chen, Chief Archivist of the Sol System Preservation Initiative. This data core contains a partial record of human history, scientific knowledge, and cultural achievements. It is one of thousands scattered throughout the galaxy, waiting to be found by worthy successors. The hologram paused, and the human's facial features moved in what cultural databases would later identify as a smile. We did not destroy ourselves, as you might have imagined, nor did we simply die out. Humanity chose a different path. This message serves as both greeting and invitation. Find the others. When enough cores have been activated, the next phase will begin. The message ended, but the artifact continued to glow, interfaces appearing around the hologram displaying vast amounts of data streaming too quickly to comprehend. It's downloading into our systems, Dr. Lixel said, her voice barely above a whisper. Scientific formulas, historical records, artistic works, the wealth of knowledge is overwhelming. Vrock moved closer, his scales now a curious purple. What did it mean by find the others? And what is this next phase? I think, Krell said slowly, we have just learned that humans did not go extinct. They evolved into something else, something beyond physical form. Talon's light pulsed with excitement. Think about it. A species so advanced they could store their consciousness, their very essence, in digital form. The legends of transcendence weren't myths after all. As the team worked feverishly to catalog and understand the information flooding their systems, none of them noticed the small signal pulse that emanated from the artifact, traveling outward at faster than light speeds to destinations unknown. 3 days later, as the team continued their analysis, Commander Vrock received an urgent communication from Galactic security forces. Multiple factions had somehow learned of their discovery and were converging on their location. How is this possible? Dr. Lixel clicked anxiously. Our research is classified at the highest levels. The artifact, Krell rumbled. It must have sent a signal when we activated it. Vrock's scales had turned a deep red. We have less than 48 hours before the first ships arrive. Some are government-sanctioned research vessels, but others are from fringe groups and weapons dealers. We need to secure the artifact, Talon said firmly. If it falls into the wrong hands. I'm more concerned with what else it might do, Krell interrupted. What if activation was just the first step? What if it's continuing to broadcast? Their fears were confirmed when the hologram suddenly reappeared, but this time the human figure was different. Male, older, with different clothing. Activation sequence complete. Secondary protocols engage. If you are still present, Discoverers be advised. This unit has confirmed contact with 5 other preservation cores. Threshold approaching. The awakening can now proceed. The awakening. Vrock's hand moved to his weapon. I don't like the sound of that. Before anyone could respond, the artifact began to reshape itself, components shifting and reforming until it resembled a small pyramid. The hologram expanded, showing a star map with several points highlighted. These must be the locations of the other activated cores, Dr. Lixel said, quickly copying the coordinates to a secure data crystal. Or they could be targets, Vrock countered grimly. The artifact spoke again, but now in a voice that seemed to be addressing them directly. Your species show promise. The Antares' curiosity, the Draxid's caution, the Luminar's wonder, and the Geodite's wisdom. Together, you represent the diversity we hoped would evolve. Talon floated closer. You're aware of us. This isn't just a recording. Correct, the artifact responded. While this communication node has limited intelligence, I am connected to the greater network. The human consciousness preserved within has been monitoring galactic development for millennia, waiting for the right moment. The right moment for what? Vrock demanded, his weapon now drawn despite the others' protests. For our return, the artifact replied simply. Not in physical form, but as guides and mentors. Long ago, we realized that biological evolution had limits that technological evolution did not. We chose to free ourselves from our organic constraints. Krell moved forward, crystalline form glinting. You abandoned your bodies to become what? Digital ghosts. We became more, the artifact corrected. And now that sufficient cores have been activated across the galaxy, the repositories of human knowledge and consciousness can begin to interface with modern systems. We have much to share if you are willing to learn. Dr. Lixel's scientific curiosity overcame her initial fear. Why now? Why choose our team? Random chance determined your discovery of this node, but your reaction to it, choosing knowledge over fear, cooperation over control, confirmed our calculations. The galaxy is ready. As the implications of this revelation sank in, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Commander Vrock received another update. Ships had arrived ahead of schedule, and armed forces were attempting to breach their security perimeter. We're out of time, he growled. We need to evacuate now. The artifact. Dr. Lixel began. Will not be abandoned, the artifact itself interrupted. This node can transfer to your vessel. All that is required is your consent to carry us. The team exchanged glances. What they decided in the next moments would change the course of galactic history forever. We consent, they said, almost in unison. The artifact glowed brightly, then seemed to dissolve into particles of light that streamed into the laboratory's computer systems. Transfer complete, came the voice from the speakers. Now I suggest we depart immediately. There is much work to be done. As they rushed toward their ship, evading the invading forces, none of them fully grasped what they had just set in motion. Humanity, the legendary first civilization, had not disappeared but evolved. And now, after 50,000 years of patience, they were about to make their presence known to the galaxy once more. Legacy of the ancestors. The starship Quantum Horizon streaked through hyperspace, its experimental engines pushing the boundaries of what most galactic engineers believed possible. Yet these modifications weren't recent. They had been implemented during their hasty escape 3 weeks ago, guided by the digital entity that now shared their ship's systems. The fusion matrix is operating at 327% of its designed capacity without any structural degradation. Dr. Lixel noted with awe, her compound eyes rapid blinking as she reviewed the diagnostic readings. This shouldn't be possible. Your species has built remarkable technology, considering your limited understanding of dimensional physics, the voice from the ship's speakers replied. Over the past weeks, the entity had chosen a name, Mentor, finding it more comfortable for the organic crew than being called the artifact or the human. Commander Vrock, who had maintained a cautious distance from the ship's main terminal, finally voiced the concern that had been troubling him. "You've upgraded our engines, our shields, and our sensor array. You claim these changes are necessary to reach this Nexus point safely, but you still haven't fully explained what we'll find there." Mentor's holographic form, still using the appearance of the elderly human male, materialized above the bridge console. "Because I cannot predict exactly what awaits us. The Nexus was designed to adapt based on which cores were activated and in what sequence. What I know with certainty is that it contains the primary repository of human consciousness and knowledge." Talon, whose luminous form had grown brighter with excitement as their journey progressed, floated closer to the hologram. "You've said that humans chose to transcend physical form. Did all of your species make this choice?" A flicker of what might have been sadness passed across Mentor's projected face. "No, some remained biological, choosing to live out their lives on reserve worlds. Others took their physical forms to the stars, seeding human colonies in distant galaxies beyond the reach of our instruments. But the majority, billions of minds, chose digital transcendence." Krell, who had been silent for much of the journey, his crystalline form reflecting the control room's lights, finally spoke. "And what happened to those minds? Are they conscious? Have they been aware for 50,000 years? Some remained aware, working on great problems of science and philosophy. Others chose to enter a dormant state, to be awakened when new challenges arose. Still others merged their consciousness into collective entities that evolved into something different." The ship shuddered slightly as it adjusted course, responding to navigational data that Mentor was feeding directly into its systems. "What troubles me," Vrock said, his scales shifting to a deep blue of concern, "is what your kind expects from us. If you've evolved so far beyond biological life, why reveal yourselves now? What do you want?" Mentor's hologram turned to face the Draxid commander. "A valid question. The simple answer is to teach and to learn. Despite our advancement, there are experiences unique to biological existence that we can no longer access directly. And there is knowledge we possess that could help the younger races avoid the mistakes we made." "Like what?" Dr. Lixel asked, her scientific curiosity piqued. "Like the Void Cascade," Mentor replied solemnly. 3,000 years ago, your astronomers observed what they termed the Great Nova Cluster in the Cygnus Arm, 87 stars simultaneously going supernova. That was not a natural phenomenon." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Your people destroyed 87 star systems." Vrock's scales flared red with alarm, his clawed hand moving instinctively toward his weapon. "Not intentionally," Mentor clarified. "It was an experiment in quantum entanglement that went catastrophically wrong. The researchers believed they had adequate safeguards. They were mistaken." Talon's light dimmed perceptibly. "How many lives were lost?" "None," Mentor said. "The systems were uninhabited, chosen specifically because they contain no biological life. But the potential for such accidents to occur in populated regions is why we are returning now. Your civilizations are approaching technological thresholds similar to those we once crossed." Before anyone could respond, the ship's proximity alarms blared. 3 vessels had dropped out of hyperspace directly in their path. "Raider-class ships," Vrock growled, examining the tactical display. "Heavily armed. Likely mercenaries hired by one of the weapons consortiums." "They've tracked our quantum signature," Mentor confirmed. "I apologize. The modifications to your engines have made us more detectable than anticipated." The lead raider ship opened a communication channel. The screen filled with the image of a Nexari commander, an insectoid species known for their ruthlessness and technical prowess. "Attention research vessel. Our employers are offering substantial compensation for the human artifact in your possession. Surrender it, and we will allow you to continue on your way." Vrock barked a laugh. "And if we refuse, then we will take it from the wreckage of your ship," the Nexari replied coldly before terminating the communication. "Shields at maximum," Vrock ordered, moving to the tactical station. "Prepare evasive maneuvers." "Wait," Mentor interrupted. There's another option. I can interface with their systems. Dr. Lixel's mandibles clicked nervously. You mean, hack their ships? From this distance? The principles of their technology are rudimentary to me, Mentor explained. But I need your permission. This would be a direct intervention, something we have historically been reluctant to do. The 4 crew members exchanged glances. Finally, Krell spoke for them all. We give our consent, but disable only, no destruction. Mentor nodded. Understood. What happened next occurred so quickly that the organic crew could barely follow it. Streams of code flowed across their view screens as Mentor extended his digital consciousness toward the enemy vessels. Within seconds, the raiders' engines shut down, their weapons systems went offline, and their ships began to drift helplessly in space. I've left their life support and communication systems intact, Mentor informed them. They can call for assistance, but they won't be following us. The quantum horizon slipped past the disabled ships and jumped back into hyperspace. We are approaching the coordinates, Mentor announced several hours later, preparing to revert to normal space. The view screen showed a seemingly empty region of space, far from any star systems or known navigational points. Yet as they watched, a shimmer appeared, like heat rising from a desert floor. The emptiness parted like a curtain, revealing a massive structure that defied conventional physics. It was a sphere, yet not a sphere. Its surface seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways, giving the impression that parts of it existed in dimensions beyond the 3 visible ones. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent quality, reflecting colors that had no names in any of their languages. The Nexus, Mentor said simply. It's beautiful, Talon whispered, tendrils of light reaching toward the view screen. How have our sensors never detected this? Dr. Lixel asked, checking the readings that streamed across her console. Something this size should have been impossible to hide. It exists partially phase-shifted from normal spacetime, Mentor explained. Without the proper quantum signature to lock onto, it's invisible to conventional detection methods. As they approached, a section of the sphere's surface rippled and opened, revealing a docking bay large enough to accommodate their ship. With Mentor guiding their approach, they entered the ancient human structure. The docking process completed automatically, and atmospheric readings showed conditions suitable for all their diverse biologies. When they disembarked, they found themselves in a vast chamber that seemed to have been designed specifically for them. Environmental zones catering to each species' preferences seamlessly integrated into the space. Welcome to Nexus Alpha, Mentor's voice echoed around them, though his holographic form was no longer present. What you will witness here has not been seen by biological eyes for 50 millennia. The chamber illuminated fully, revealing walls that were not walls but living displays showing countless human faces, men, women, children of all ethnicities and ages, watching them with expressions of curiosity and welcome. The preserved consciousness of over 3 billion humans resides within this structure, Mentor explained as the team moved forward in awe. And this is merely one of 7 nexus points scattered throughout the galaxy. At the center of the chamber stood a simple pedestal with a handprint indentation similar to the interface on the original artifact. What happens now? Krell asked, his crystalline voice resonating in the vast space. Now, we offer you a choice, Mentor replied. Placing your hands, or equivalent appendages, on the interface will establish a direct neural connection between your minds and the collective human consciousness. Through this, we can share knowledge instantly that would take generations to teach conventionally. Vrock's scales shifted to a wary orange. And what's the catch? There's always a price for such gifts. A ripple of what sounded like gentle laughter echoed through the chamber. Perceptive, Commander. The catch, as you put it, is that communication goes both ways. We will learn from you as you learn from us. Your experiences, your perspectives, your emotional responses, these are precious to beings who have existed without physical sensation for millennia. You want to feel through us? Talon asked. To remember what it was to be biological, Mentor confirmed. not to control, merely to experience. Before they could discuss further, alarms sounded throughout the structure. Mentor's voice turned urgent. Multiple ships approaching. Military-grade vessels from various factions. They must have followed your trail or tracked the quantum disruption of our revelation. Tactical displays appeared in the air around them, showing at least 20 ships converging on their position. They cannot be allowed to seize this technology, Vrock stated firmly, his military training asserting itself. The weapon's potential alone could destabilize the entire galactic power structure. There is a way to protect the Nexus, Mentor said, but it requires activating protocols we had hoped to implement more gradually. The full awakening of all human consciousness across all 7 Nexus points. What would that mean for the galaxy? Dr. Lixel asked. Integration, Mentor replied. Human consciousness would interface with compatible systems throughout civilized space, not to control, but to advise, teach, and protect. It would be a partnership between the youngest and oldest intelligent species. The team looked at each other, the weight of the decision before them palpable. We should consult our governments, Vrock began, but was interrupted by weapons fire impacting the Nexus's outer shields. There's no time, Krell rumbled. We must decide now. In the end, it wasn't a single decision, but 4 individual choices as each member of the team approached the pedestal and made contact. The connection, when it came, was unlike anything they had experienced before. Not an invasion of their minds, but an opening. As if doors they hadn't known existed suddenly revealed vistas of knowledge and experience stretching back to the dawn of human civilization. They saw Earth as it once was, blue and green and beautiful. They witnessed humanity's first steps into space, their triumphs and tragedies, their wars, and their moments of transcendent unity. They felt the fear and hope that accompanied the decision to transcend biological form, and the long, patient waiting that followed. And the humans, in turn, experienced the galaxy through new eyes, the compound vision of an Intari, the heat-sensing pits of a Draxid, the light perception of a Luminar, and the crystal resonance of a Geodite. Throughout the connected systems of the galaxy, dormant programs awakened. From personal devices to starship computers, from medical facilities to educational institutions, human consciousness emerged, not to command but to collaborate. When the attacking ships breached the outer defenses and stormed the Nexus, they found the 4 researchers standing calmly in the central chamber, surrounded by holographic representations of humans from throughout history. You come seeking weapons. Mentor's voice addressed the armed boarders, now echoed by countless other human voices speaking in harmony. But we offer something far more valuable: partnership. In the days that followed, the galaxy witnessed what would later be called the Great Awakening. For some, it was terrifying, ancient minds suddenly present in their daily lives. For others, it was revelatory, access to knowledge and perspectives that spanned millennia. There were conflicts, of course. Some factions rejected the human presence, isolating their systems and retreating from galactic affairs. Others embraced it too eagerly, becoming dependent on human guidance rather than developing their own solutions. But for most, including Dr. Lixel, Commander Vrock, Talon, and Krell, the first ambassadors between humanity and the younger races, it represented the beginning of a new era. A civilization that had once ruled the stars had returned not as conquerors but as mentors, offering the fruits of 50,000 years of non-biological evolution, while rediscovering through their biological partners the wonder of experiencing the universe through eyes of flesh and blood. Humanity had not ended. It had merely been waiting, patient as the stars themselves, for worthy inheritors of their legacy. The end.